Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to another Talk Architecture podcast episode. And this episode is entitled Viral Accessibility of a Professor Who Fell Backwards While Attempted to Use a Wheelchair That Is Not His. Now, okay, the title will be shorter, but this is the viral image, video of a professor recently in Malaysia, and it got into the national news. And it probably ticks a lot of boxes with regard to accessibility and many other things. So I would like to provide some, shall I say, guidance to this viral TikTok video. It has been tweeted and by other people. And I just want to concentrate on the issue of this professor who was thinking that he needed to do that. There was this ramp. The image in the image in this podcast shows the front entrance of this restaurant called Astana. And it has a ramp right in the middle where you can access the steps at the side of the ramp. And looking at the ramp, just looking at this picture, you know that it is a steep ramp, right? Now, this is the ramp that the professor tried to wheel himself, and somebody was taking a video. Now, there are a lot of questions. One is this a program? Is it a simulation exercise? Is it an opening ceremony of this place where somebody put a wheelchair there for the professor to go and use it, or for others to use it, and the professor thinks that he could use it, who could try the wheelchair and go up that ramp. So there is a belief that he could actually rise to the challenge of wheeling from the bottom to the top without falling over. That is the belief at that point. So if you're a person who is not used to riding a wheelchair, you would think that you don't know how to gauge it, and you don't know the consequences of the safety issues. Now, going back to the basic principles of barrier-free, there are three principles: accessibility, that you actually could reach your destination or what you want to do; safety, that you can actually do it without being in danger of your safety; and third is usability. And we can see that this ramp does not tick any of these boxes. Now, if somebody were to use a trolley to push goods, a wheeled trolley to push some goods onto this ramp and to the top of it, they would succeed. Because this standard of the gradient of the ramp is for like cars, like vehicles, or you have a motorcycle with a motor, you can probably get from below to top, because the gradient would be 1:7. Okay. Now, when we talk about the standard of the gradient, in the Malaysian standard 1184, the gradient has to be 1:12 or less steep than that. Okay, if it gets to 1:15, 1:20, that is brilliant, because that would not compromise your safety. But when it gets to steeper than 1:12, just say 1:11, probably you can still manage it. 1:10, probably you can. But when it gets to 1:20, 987, which is the car gradient, you can topple over. Now, the thing is, with this viral video, we saw the professor toppled over when he attempted to wheel at the base of the ramp. It's not even, he didn't even get to the middle of the ramp. I have a few questions because I wasn't there. I haven't done an access audit of it. Is there a bump? Is there a bump? It's not seamless, is it? Is there a bump at the bottom of that ramp to the road or to the other surface? Is the other surface, before you get onto the ramp, also a slope? I mean, there's so many questions I have. Okay, so because he couldn't, the wheel at the back, the small wheel went onto the ramp, but the wheel at the back was when. Is it because he didn't know the technique and he put his back towards the seat and then he tipped over to the back? Now, why am I saying all this is because a ramp design has to be according to standard. And if you were doing an exercise called the simulation exercise, and a proper way of doing it is that the person who's doing that exercise understand what it is for. I don't know whether the professor understood that part of it, because when you design anything in a building, a ramp, stairs, railings, toilet, counters, tables, chairs, when you install them or when you design the space and so on, and the surface, whether it's slippery or not slippery, the material that you use, everything about the building, when you design, is it according to standards, or is it according to specifications that it is universally designed or accessible, safe, and usable for everyone, including the professor, including any other human being, including disabled persons who uses the wheelchair or not. So the question is, is this restaurant safe? So you can see that the ramp wasn't safe. If you were to use a wheelchair in front, it was designed such that it had errors. It is poorly designed. In fact, it should be dismantled and destroyed, and a totally new set of stairs and ramps be designed in front of it. Of course, the best thing is there is no ramp, that you can just enter this building easily, or that you create a ramp that is very well done so that it is not slippery. It does what it needed to do. Those three things happen: accessibility, usability, and safety happens. So this viral video led us to actually wanting to know more about this issue. But the most important thing is that in the first place, it shouldn't have happened, because it does more damage than good. Why is it doing more damage? Because when you do simulation exercises now, and you get people to do awareness training on accessibility, they will be very, very afraid of using the wheelchair. They wouldn't know the issue about the ramp as what I have explained to you. They would just be in fear. And the problem is that this will be a backlash to the effort to get places to be accessible. And the issue here is also, you would think that, this will give a better coverage for accessibility. No, it does not necessarily do so, because people will not want to understand, it will make people scared. Now, why am I thinking like that? Because the context or the whole thing is not right in the first place. Why did they know exactly, they know that the ramp is steep and there's a wheelchair and they want the professor still to use it. And somebody is taking a video of it. to me is almost like a sabotage. No, I'm telling the truth. Because if you're ignorant about the RAM being steep, and you're ignorant about the professor is able to go and topple at the back, and you're ignorant to the fact that you're actually taking a diabolically, I'm being cynical here, diabolically taking a video of the professor doing this, then it's all absurd. The whole thing viral for the wrong reasons. Even if you say, oh, good job, professor, you did well, you're trying to console him, he's not being consoled. In his heart of hearts, there is something that is a reaction, well, I would be, an anger or resentment of the whole deal. What has he learned? It is not in the context of learning. It is in the context of a comedy of errors. Or it could be, thank God it wasn't a tragedy. And, this sort of thing is something that nobody learned from it. Why I'm putting out this message in this podcast is that don't do this again. Don't take a video of someone and then viral it by showing it to the rest of the world, or in Malaysia, this thing that nobody can learn from it. There is no morality in it. It is undignified. It lowered the dignity of someone, and it's totally irrelevant, this video. It doesn't help at all with the accessibility agenda. Accessibility agenda needs to be learned carefully. It needs to be embraced in a way that is everybody actually is connected to the accessibility agenda. They feel for it. They understood it through their everyday interactions with disabled persons or their parents who are disabled, and it comes from many years of learning about accessibility issues. It is to think of yourself, empathetic with others, to think of yourself building for the future of your aging self. So it's not useful at all, this video, and should not be viral, should not be put in anybody's tweets, and is regrettable. The last thing I would like to say, this video is regrettable, and that unfortunately, if UPM did it intentionally, it is a failed program, and try to learn from this lesson. Everyone, try to learn from this viral video, at least what not to do in the future, because it is not helpful for the accessibility and the disability agenda in this country, in Malaysia. Thank you very much.